I stood at the podium during our 30th anniversary party and watched my husband Marcus walk in his girlfriend. He actually thought I didn't know. My husband wasn't just cheating, he was living multiple lives. And when I started my anniversary speech, I did what any woman would do after 3 decades of devotion. And let's just say, he'll never forget our 30th anniversary. Before we continue, please take a moment to leave a comment telling me where in the world you're watching from. And please hit the like button for me right now and subscribe to my channel. We're building a community of people who know it's never too late to heal and find the truth. Now, back to my story. My name is Sandra Whitmore. I'm 53 years old, and for 3 decades I played the role of the perfect wife. I supported my husband Marcus through graduate school, scaled back my own thriving marketing career so he could build his financial advisory firm, raised our 2 children while he networked at country clubs, and smiled graciously at every corporate dinner party while he charmed clients and colleagues. I was the woman behind the successful man, the devoted partner, the one who kept the home fires burning while he built an empire. And he repaid me by turning our marriage into a masterclass in deception. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Let me take you back to where it all began to unravel. 3 months before our 30th anniversary party. 3 months before I burned his entire world to the ground. It was a Tuesday afternoon in late April. I remember because Tuesdays were my grocery days, my predictable, mundane routine that Marcus could count on like clockwork. I was putting away his dry cleaning, another wifely duty I'd performed thousands of times without complaint, when a small slip of paper fell from his suit jacket pocket. At first, I thought it was a business card, or maybe a restaurant receipt. Marcus was always treating clients to expensive lunches, writing them off as business expenses while I clipped coupons and shopped sales at the supermarket. But this receipt was different. Hartwell & Sons Fine Jewelry, $3,247. Purchase date, April 10th, just 4 days earlier. 4 days before our anniversary, our 29th anniversary to be exact. I stood there in our bedroom, the one we'd shared for 3 decades, custom-built carpet under my feet, and I waited. I waited for the memory of receiving that necklace to surface. Had he surprised me with it? Had I forgotten? Was I losing my mind? But no, there was no necklace, no surprise gift, no romantic gesture over candlelit dinner. My hands started shaking, and I sat down on the edge of our California king bed, the receipt crumpling slightly in my grip. Maybe there was a reasonable explanation. Maybe it was for our daughter, Emma. Maybe it was an investment piece for a client. Maybe, and I remember thinking this with desperate hope, maybe he was planning something special for our 30th anniversary next year and wanted to get ahead of it. I wanted to believe anything, except the truth that was already crystallizing in my gut like ice. That night at dinner, I tested the waters. Marcus sat across from me at our dining room table, the expensive cherry wood one we'd bought when he made partner. Scrolling through his phone while mechanically eating the pot roast I'd spent 2 hours preparing. "How was your day?" I asked, my voice steady, normal. The same question I'd asked 10,000 times before. "Fine. Busy. Henderson account is being difficult." He didn't look up from his screen. "Anything interesting happen?" "Not really. Same corporate bullshit. Still scrolling." I took a breath. "Did you happen to stop anywhere? Shopping, maybe?" That's when his eyes flicked up to mine, just for a second, just long enough for me to see something I'd never seen before in my husband's face when he looked at me. Calculation. "No." "Why?" His voice was casual, but his jaw tightened almost imperceptibly. "Just wondering. I thought maybe you'd picked up something for Emma's birthday." The lie came smoothly. I was surprised at how easily I could lie. 30 years of trust, and suddenly we were both experts at deception. "Oh, no, not yet. I'll get to it." He returned to his phone. Conversation closed. I ate my pot roast in silence while my mind raced. He'd lied. He'd looked me in the eyes and lied without hesitation, without guilt, without even the common courtesy of a convincing excuse. This was a man who'd promised to love and cherish me for better or worse. This was the father of my children. This was the person I'd built my entire adult life around. And he'd just lied to my face about a $3,000 purchase like it was nothing. That night, I couldn't sleep. I was wondering how long this had been going on. Was this the first time? Was the necklace for a colleague, a friend, or was it for someone else entirely? Someone younger, someone more exciting, someone who didn't know about his snoring or his irritable bowel syndrome, or the way he'd stopped saying, "I love you" somewhere around year 22. At 3 a.m, I got up and went to his home office. My heart was pounding so hard, I could feel it in my throat. I'd never snooped before, never had a reason to, never wanted to be the suspicious wife who violated her husband's privacy. But as I sat down at his desk and opened his laptop, I realized something profound. I wasn't violating his privacy. He'd already violated our marriage. His computer was password protected, but I knew Marcus. He was brilliant with other people's money, but lazy with his own security. I tried our anniversary date. Incorrect. I tried Emma's birthday. Incorrect. Then, with a sinking feeling, I tried our son Ryan's birthday backward. The computer unlocked. I started with his emails, my hands trembling on the trackpad. Business correspondence, client updates, spam about refinancing mortgages. Everything looked normal, mundane. Exactly what you'd expect from a successful financial advisor with a sterling reputation. But then I noticed something. He had 2 email accounts logged in, his business account and a personal Gmail I'd never known existed. The Gmail had over 3,000 unread messages, 3,000 messages in an account I didn't know about. I clicked on it, and my entire world tilted sideways. The first email I saw was from someone named Tiffany. The subject line read, "Can't wait to see you this weekend, baby. Baby." My 55-year-old husband. Baby. I opened it. "Marcus, this weekend was amazing. I can't stop thinking about you. The necklace is beautiful. I'll wear it Friday when we go to that restaurant you mentioned. Love you so much. I.T." The necklace. My $3,000 mystery was named Tiffany. I should have stopped there. I should have closed the laptop, woken him up, demanded answers. But I didn't. I kept reading. Email after email after email. Messages about hotel rooms and weekend getaways. Conversations about when he'd finally leave his cold, distant wife. That was me, apparently. And start their real life together. Plans for a future that involved my house, my life savings, my 30 years of devotion being discarded like expired milk. And here's the thing that really shattered me. The intimacy in those messages. The way he wrote to her, the attention, the romance, the emotional availability I'd been begging for since our kids left for college. He was capable of it. He just wasn't capable of it with me. I spent 4 hours reading through that Gmail account before the sun came up. 4 hours discovering that my husband was not just having an affair. He was living an entire parallel life. Tiffany knew about his favorite restaurants, his childhood fears, his career ambitions. She knew things I'd stopped asking about years ago because he'd stopped sharing them with me. When dawn finally broke through the office window, I heard Marcus stirring upstairs. I closed the laptop carefully, wiped my face. When had I started crying? And went to the kitchen to make coffee. When he came downstairs 20 minutes later, showered and dressed in one of his expensive suits, I handed him his travel mug with a smile. "Have a good day at work, how?" I said. "You too, Humastenko," he replied, kissing my cheek absently before heading out the door. That casual kiss, the ultimate betrayal. He'd kissed Tiffany with passion and kissed me with habit. For 3 days, I walked around in a fog. I made meals. I did laundry. I smiled at the mailman and chatted with our neighbor about her grandchildren. On the surface, I was Sandra Whitmore, content housewife, living her peaceful life. But underneath, something was hardening inside me like steel being forged in fire. On the 4th day, I made a decision. I called a private investigator. Her name was Vera Rodriguez, and she worked out of a modest office in a strip mall 40 minutes from my house, far enough that I wouldn't run into anyone I knew. Vera was in her mid-40s with sharp eyes, and a no-nonsense demeanor that immediately put me at ease. She'd seen this story before. She'd see it again. I wasn't special. I was just another wife who'd ignored the signs until she couldn't anymore. "Tell me what you know," Vera said, her pen poised over a notepad. I told her about the receipt, about the email account, about Tiffany. Vera nodded, unsurprised. "How long do you want me to follow him?" "How long does it usually take? To confirm an affair?" "Usually a week, but Mrs. Whitmore—" She paused, looking at me carefully. "In my experience, if you've found one, there are often others. Do you want me to look deeper? Or do you just want confirmation so you can proceed with divorce?" "Others." The word hung in the air like poison gas. "Look deeper," I heard myself say. "I want to know everything." Vera worked fast. Within 2 weeks, she had a preliminary report. Within 4 weeks, she had a file 3 inches thick. And within 6 weeks, she sat across from me at a coffee shop 2 towns over and slid a manila envelope across the table with an expression that was equal parts professional and sympathetic. "You might want to be sitting down for this," she said, which was ironic since I was already sitting. "Actually, you might want something stronger than coffee." I opened the envelope. Inside were photographs, time-stamped surveillance photos, Marcus leaving hotels with Tiffany, Marcus having lunch with a brunette I didn't recognize. Marcus at the gym with an attractive Asian woman, Marcus at an outdoor cafe with yet another woman, this one closer to my age. 4 women, not 1. 4. The blonde is Tiffany Barnes, 28, his executive assistant, Vera said quietly, pointing to each photo. "You already know about her." The brunette is Jennifer Cole, 35, pharmaceutical sales rep, single mother. He met her at a medical conference 18 months ago. The woman from the gym is Ashley Park, 42, divorce attorney. Ironic, I know. They've been involved for about 10 months. And this one. She tapped the photo of the woman closer to my age. Diane Mitchell, 48, widow. Old college girlfriend who reconnected with him on social media about 6 months ago. I stared at the photos. 4 faces. 4 women who thought they knew Marcus. 4 women who had no idea about each other or about me. "There's more," Vera continued. "He's told each of them different stories. Tiffany thinks he's leaving you soon and they're getting married. He's bought her a condo as proof of commitment. Jennifer thinks he's separated from you and just waiting for the paperwork. Ashley knows he's married but believes you two have an arrangement. And Diane thinks you're emotionally abusive and he's trapped." My hand went to my throat. I couldn't breathe. 30 years. 30 years of loyalty, of sacrifice, of standing by him. And this was my reward. Not just betrayal, industrial scale betrayal. A carefully constructed web of lies so elaborate it must have taken tremendous effort to maintain. "How long?" I managed to ask. "How long has this been going on?" Vera's expression softened. "Based on financial records and timeline analysis, at least 5 years, probably longer." 5 years. While I was caring for his mother through her final illness, while I was celebrating our 25th anniversary, while I was telling our children how proud I was of their father, what a good man he was. 5 years of looking at me across the breakfast table with those lies sitting behind his eyes. "There's something else," Vera said. "The financial trail. He's been using your joint accounts to fund these affairs. The hotel rooms, the gifts. Tiffany's condo down payment. That came from the account you've been contributing to, from your part-time consulting work. Legally, you have an airtight case for divorce. With the evidence I've gathered, you'll get a very favorable settlement." I nodded, but I wasn't really listening anymore. My mind was somewhere else entirely, somewhere cold and calculating, somewhere I'd never been before. "Does he know you're investigating?" Vera asked. "No, he has no idea." "Good. Keep it that way. Don't confront him until you have all your legal ducks in a row. These things can get ugly, and you want to be prepared." But I wasn't thinking about legal preparation. I was thinking about our anniversary. Our 30th anniversary was coming up in just over 2 months, the party I'd been planning for a year, the celebration I'd organized to honor our 3 decades together, the event where all our friends and family would gather to toast our enduring love And that's when the idea came to me. Not fully formed yet, but emerging like a photograph developing in solution. Slow, inevitable, perfect. Vera, I said carefully, I need you to keep watching him, document everything, but I also need you to get me contact information for all 4 of these women. Vera raised an eyebrow. What are you planning? My anniversary party. I smiled, and even I could feel how cold that smile was. I'm planning my anniversary party. Over the next 6 weeks, I became someone I'd never been before. I became strategic, methodical, patient in a way I'd never managed when dealing with my children's teenage drama or holiday dinner preparations. I was a woman with a mission, and that mission had absolute clarity. I continued to play the perfect wife. I asked Marcus about his day. I laughed at his jokes. I pressed his shirts and scheduled his dental appointments, and every single day I received updates from Vera, photos of Marcus with Tiffany at romantic restaurants, videos of him kissing Jennifer goodbye at her apartment, documentation of weekend trips with Ashley, evidence of late-night phone calls with Diane. I stored it all, cataloged it, prepared it. Meanwhile, I planned our anniversary party with excruciating attention to detail. I booked the Crystal Ballroom at the Riverside Hotel, Marcus's favorite venue, where he'd celebrated his biggest business victories. I hired his preferred caterer. I ordered his favorite champagne. I created a guest list that included everyone who mattered, our closest friends, his business partners, his most important clients, both our families. 150 people. 150 witnesses to our great love story. And then, exactly 2 weeks before the party, Marcus did something so audacious, so brazenly disrespectful, that it confirmed I was doing the right thing. He told me Tiffany would be attending the party. We were having dinner, take-out Chinese, because I'd stopped cooking elaborate meals that he barely noticed when he mentioned it casually, like he was commenting on the weather. By the way, my assistant Tiffany will be at the party. She helped coordinate some of the business contacts, and I thought it would be appropriate to invite her. Professional courtesy. I looked up from my Kung Pao chicken. Your assistant? Yes, Tiffany, from the office. Very efficient. She's been instrumental in some of our recent acquisitions. He said this with such confidence, such absolute certainty that I'd accept it without question. And why wouldn't he? For 30 years, I'd accepted everything without question. I'd been the understanding wife, the supportive partner, the woman who never made waves. Of course, I said smoothly. That's very thoughtful of you. I'll make sure she's at a good table. Thanks, honey. He went back to his phone, satisfied. Problem solved. Wife managed. He had no idea what he'd just done. He'd brought his mistress into my carefully constructed plan and made it perfect. The final piece, clicking into place. That night, I sat down with Vera's complete report. 4 women, 4 different lies, 4 different promises. And now all 4 of them would be in the same room, at the same time, with 150 witnesses. I began making phone calls. The first was to Jennifer Cole. I called from a burner phone I'd bought specifically for this purpose, using a voice slightly different from my own, younger, more casual. Hi, is this Jennifer? You don't know me, but I'm a friend of Marcus Whitmore's. He's having this big anniversary party in a couple weeks, and I know how much you mean to him. I thought you might like to attend as a surprise. He's been keeping you separate from his social circle because of the whole separation situation. But honestly, I think it's time everyone knew about you two. What do you say? There was a long pause. A party? He didn't mention. It's complicated with his ex still being involved in the planning. You know how it is. But trust me, he'd love to see you there. I can send you the details. Okay, if you think he'd want me there. Oh, absolutely. He talks about you all the time. 1 down. Ashley Park was easier. I called her office directly, using my real voice this time, identifying myself as the party planner. Ms. Park, I'm calling from Riverside Hotel about an upcoming event. A mutual friend suggested you might be interested in attending a celebration for Marcus Whitmore. Are you available the evening of June 22nd? Marcus is having a party? Her voice was cautious. A significant milestone celebration. Several of his close friends will be there. I understand you two are acquainted through the gym? A pause. Yes, we know each other. Will his wife be there? I smiled into the phone. It's a complex situation, as I'm sure you're aware. But yes, all relevant parties will be present. Shall I add you to the guest list? Sure, why not? This should be interesting. 2 down. Diane Mitchell was the most delicate. I found her through social media. Her Facebook page was public bad, filled with photos of her late husband and inspirational quotes about finding love again. I sent her a private message from a fake account. Hi, Diane. You don't know me, but Marcus asked me to reach out. He's having a big party celebrating his freedom, and he really wants you there, but didn't know how to ask without seeming too forward. I know he's mentioned how special you are to him. Would you consider coming? It would mean the world to him to have you there as he starts his new chapter. She responded within an hour. Oh my goodness, that's so sweet. Yes, I'd love to come. I've been waiting for him to be ready to go public. This is such a big step. 3 down. And Tiffany, of course, was already coming. Marcus had ensured that himself. 4 women, 1 party, 1 husband who had no idea what was about to hit him. The week before the party, I went to see a lawyer. Margaret Chen came highly recommended by Vera, a shark in the courtroom with a reputation for decimating cheating spouses in divorce proceedings. Margaret was in her 60s, with silver hair pulled back in a severe bun and eyes that could cut through steel. Tell me everything, she said. I did. Every detail, every affair, every lie, every dollar Marcus had spent from our joint accounts on his other women. Margaret listened, her expression neutral, occasionally making notes. When I finished, she sat back in her leather chair and smiled. It was not a kind smile. Mrs. Whitmore, I can get you everything. The house, 70% of assets, alimony. With this level of documented deception and financial misconduct, no judge will side with him. But I have to ask, why the public revelation? Why not just serve him quietly? I met her eyes. Because he doesn't just get to walk away from this. He doesn't get to control the narrative, tell people we grew apart, make himself the victim. He's been making a fool of me for years. One night, just one night, I'm returning the favor. Margaret's smile widened. I'll have the papers ready to serve the morning after your party. Now let's talk strategy. The night before the anniversary party, I stood in my closet, the same closet where I'd found that receipt 3 months earlier, and looked at myself in the full-length mirror. I'd bought a new dress, white, elegant, sophisticated, not trying too hard, not frumpy, just perfect. I looked at my reflection and barely recognized the woman staring back. Where was the Sandra who'd spent 30 years making herself smaller, quieter, more convenient? Where was the woman who'd accepted crumbs of attention and called it love? She was gone. In her place was someone harder, someone who'd done her homework, someone who was about to rewrite the ending of her own story. My phone buzzed, a text from Vera. Everything's set. All 4 confirmed attending. Good luck tomorrow. I didn't need luck. I had something better. I had the truth. That night, I slept better than I had in months. Marcus had no idea that tomorrow would be the last day of his comfortable, consequence-free life. He had no idea that the 4 women he'd been juggling were about to meet each other. He had no idea that 150 people who respected him, trusted him, gave him their money to invest, were about to see exactly who Marcus Whitmore really was. The next morning, he woke up cheerful. Big day, he said, stretching. 30 years, can you believe it? No, I said honestly. I really can't. He kissed my forehead, another absent, habitual gesture, and headed to the shower, already on his phone, probably texting one of his women. I got up and made breakfast, poured his coffee, smiled when he told me he had to run some errands before the party. Take your time, I said. I've got everything under control. And I did. Every detail, every moment, every revelation. Because in just a few hours, Marcus Whitmore was going to learn what happens when you underestimate your wife. In just a few hours, His carefully constructed world of lies was going to collapse in the most spectacular way possible. In just a few hours, our 30th anniversary party was going to become legendary, but not for the reasons he thought. The crystal ballroom at the Riverside Hotel glittered like a jewelry box, and I was about to shatter every precious thing inside it. I arrived 2 hours early, long before any guests, long before Marcus, long before the 4 women who had no idea they were walking into an ambush. The event coordinator, the efficient woman named Patricia, met me at the entrance with her clipboard and her reassuring smile, completely oblivious to the fact that she wasn't coordinating an anniversary celebration. She was setting the stage for a public execution. "Mrs. Whitmore, everything is exactly as you specified," Patricia said, walking me through the space. "String quartet positioned here, champagne fountain here, your speech podium here with the projection screen behind it. That projection screen, that beautiful, enormous projection screen that Marcus thought would display our wedding photos and family memories. He had no idea what would actually appear on it." "Perfect," I said, running my hand along the podium. "And the technical setup I requested? The microphone will reach every corner of the room?" "Crystal clear audio throughout. Everyone will hear every word." Everyone. 150 people. 150 witnesses who thought they were celebrating lasting love and marital devotion. They had no idea they were about to get an education in deception, betrayal, and consequences. I had dressed carefully that morning, the elegant white dress that made me look powerful rather than desperate. Hair professionally styled, makeup flawless. I wanted to look like a woman in complete control, because that's exactly what I was. For 30 years, Marcus had controlled the narrative of our marriage. Tonight, the story belonged to me. My best friend Carol arrived first among the guests, elegant in a silver gown, her face glowing with excitement for what she believed would be a beautiful evening. Carol had been my confidant through 3 decades of marriage. She'd held my hand through difficult pregnancies, celebrated my children's graduations, sat with me through my mother's funeral. But even Carol didn't know what I had planned. I couldn't risk anyone talking me out of it, couldn't risk anyone's moral objections diluting my resolve. "Sandra, darling, you look absolutely radiant," Carol said, embracing me. 30 years. I'm so happy for you both." I hugged her back, feeling the irony burn in my chest. "It's going to be an unforgettable night. I'm sure Marcus has something special planned for you." "Oh, he does. He just doesn't know it yet." Carol laughed, thinking I was joking about some mutual surprise. She had no idea that in less than 2 hours, she'd be watching our friendship circle implode in real time. Guests began filtering in. Marcus's business partner, David, and his wife, Susan. Our neighbors, the Hendersons. My brother, Tom, who'd flown in from Seattle with his wife. Colleagues from Marcus's firm, dressed in expensive suits and designer gowns, ready to network and celebrate their successful partner. Clients who'd trusted Marcus with their retirement funds, their children's college savings, their life's accumulated wealth. They respected him, admired him, thought he was a man of integrity and wisdom. They were all about to learn different. Then I saw her. Tiffany Barnes walked through the entrance on impossibly high heels, her blonde hair cascading over her shoulders, wearing a dress that was just slightly too young, too tight, too obvious for the occasion. She was 28 and looked it, fresh-faced, confident in the way only the very young and very naive can be. She thought she was here as Marcus's assistant. She thought her secret relationship was safe, hidden, hers alone. She had no idea that 3 other women in this room believed the exact same thing. I watched Tiffany scan the crowd, her eyes searching for Marcus, her lips curved in a secret smile. I recognized that smile. It was the smile of a woman who thinks she's one, who thinks she's special, who believes she's different from the wife, smarter, prettier, more exciting. She had no idea she was just one of 4 interchangeable parts in my husband's machinery of deception. I approached her with my hostess smile firmly in place. "You must be Tiffany. Welcome. Marcus mentioned you'd be joining us." Her eyes widened slightly. the mistress meeting the wife, probably wondering if I knew, if I suspected, scanning my face for any sign of awareness. "Mrs. Whitmore, thank you so much for having me. The ballroom is beautiful. Isn't it? I wanted everything perfect for tonight. It's such a special occasion. 30 years of marriage, 30 years of loyalty and trust." I let those words hang in the air, watching her squirm almost imperceptibly. "Can I get you some champagne?" "That would be lovely." I handed her a glass from a passing waiter's tray and watched her retreat toward the edge of the room. Still scanning for Marcus. Poor thing. She had no idea that before this night ended, she'd wish she'd never heard his name. 10 minutes later, Jennifer Cole walked in. I recognized her immediately from Vera's surveillance photos, the brunette pharmaceutical sales rep, 35, single mother, the one Marcus had been playing divorced and available with for 18 months. She wore a tasteful black dress and looked nervous, her eyes darting around the room like she wasn't quite sure she belonged here. Because she didn't, but not for the reasons she thought. Jennifer hovered near the entrance, clearly uncomfortable, checking her phone repeatedly. Was she texting Marcus, asking him where he was, wondering why his friend had invited her to what was clearly labeled an anniversary party on the invitation? I didn't approach Jennifer. Not yet. Let her stew in her confusion. Let her wonder. The anticipation was part of the punishment. Then came Ashley Park, the divorce attorney from Marcus's gym. 42, sleek and professional, in a charcoal dress that screamed expensive taste. Ashley walked in like she owned the place, confident, assessing, clearly aware this was an anniversary party, and clearly unbothered by that fact. This was the woman who knew Marcus was married but believed we had an arrangement, believed our marriage was some kind of sophisticated open relationship where everyone understood the rules. She was about to learn the only rule that mattered. Don't sleep with another woman's husband and expect no consequences. Ashley grabbed champagne and immediately started networking, shaking hands with Marcus's business associates like she belonged in his professional world. Maybe she thought she did. Maybe Marcus had promised her a future that included his money, his status, his world. Maybe he'd told her I was just a placeholder he'd eventually discard. I wondered what she'd think when she realized she was the placeholder. And finally, Diane Mitchell, 48, widow. Marcus's college girlfriend who'd been told I was emotionally abusive and he was trapped. Diane entered tentatively, wearing a soft pink dress that made her look vulnerable and hopeful. She had the air of a woman who'd been through grief and was daring to believe in love again. Her late husband had died 3 years ago, and Marcus had positioned himself as her second chance at happiness. My jaw clenched. Using a widow's grief to manipulate her into an affair that was low even for Marcus. Diane looked around with wide eyes, clearly overwhelmed by the formal atmosphere, by the obvious wealth on display, by the anniversary decorations that directly contradicted whatever story Marcus had told her about our marriage being over, in all but name. 4 women, all present, all accounted for, all about to have their worlds destroyed, and still no Marcus. I checked my watch, 7:15. The party started at 7. Where was the guest of honor? Where was my devoted husband of 30 years who should be here greeting guests, playing the role of the successful, faithful, loving partner? My phone buzzed. A text from Marcus. Running late. Had to handle something. Be there by 7:30. Start without me if needed. Start without him. Oh, Marcus. You only knew. I had about 15 minutes before he arrived. 15 minutes to let the tension build. 15 minutes to let these 4 women marinate in this space together, unaware of each other's significance, unaware of the bomb that was about to detonate. I moved through the crowd, playing my role flawlessly. Gracious hostess, devoted wife, woman who had it all. I accepted congratulations, laughed at jokes, thanked people for coming, and the whole time I tracked the 4 women's positions in the room like pieces on a chessboard. Tiffany by the champagne fountain, texting furiously. Jennifer near the hors d'oeuvres table, looking increasingly uncomfortable. Ashley networking with David, Marcus's business partner, making connections. Diane standing alone by the window, clutching her small purse like a lifeline. None of them talking to each other, none of them aware they were all here for the same man. Not yet. Carol appeared at my elbow. "Sandra, where's Marcus? People are starting to ask." "He's on his way. You know how he is, always putting business first." The bitterness leaked through despite my best efforts, and Carol gave me a curious look. "Are you okay? You seem tense. Just want everything to be perfect." "It already is perfect. Look at this turnout. Everyone loves you too." Everyone loves a lie, I thought. Everyone loves the fairy tale. The high school sweethearts who made it work. The couple who weathered every storm. The marriage that proved true love exists. Wait until they saw what true love actually looked like when it discovered 30 years of calculated betrayal. At 7:28, I saw movement at the entrance. Marcus, finally. He walked in wearing his best suit, the navy Tom Ford I'd picked out for him last Christmas, the one that cost $3,000 that I'd rationalized as an investment in his professional image. He looked distinguished, confident, every inch the successful financial advisor who had his life together. And on his arm, beaming up at him with adoration, was Tiffany. He'd brought her on his arm. To our anniversary party, his mistress, brazenly displayed like a trophy, while his wife stood across the room watching. The audacity was breathtaking. I watched several guests notice, saw the confusion flicker across their faces. Why was Marcus arriving with his young assistant instead of entering to meet his wife? Why were they holding hands? Carol, standing beside me, went very still. "Sandra," she said quietly. "Is that his assistant?" "Yes, that's Tiffany." "Why is he... Are they..." "Yes, Carol, they are." I kept my voice level, calm, even as my heart hammered against my ribs. "And over by the appetizers, that's Jennifer. She's been seeing him for 18 months. The woman in charcoal talking to David, Ashley, 10 months. And the one by the window in pink, Diane, 6 months. Did you know my husband is such an excellent multitasker?" Carol's face went white. "Oh my God. Sandra, what are you going to do? Watch. Just watch." Marcus finally spotted me across the room. I saw the calculation in his eyes as he dropped Tiffany's hand quickly, too quickly, confirming everything. He started walking toward me with that smile, that politician's smile that had charmed clients and fooled friends for decades. "Sandra, sorry I'm late. Traffic was terrible, I'm sure." I kissed his cheek, the way a wife should. Up close, I could smell Tiffany's perfume on his jacket. "I'm so glad you're here. We should start the toasts soon." "Great, great. Let me just grab a drink and say hello to David. Actually, darling, I think we should begin now. Everyone's here, everyone who matters." Something in my tone made him look at me more carefully. "Are you okay? You seem perfect." "I'm perfect. Come on." I took his hand, the same hand that had been holding Tiffany's moments ago, and led him toward the podium. The string quartet finished their piece, and Patricia dimmed the lights slightly, bringing focus to the front of the room. Marcus and I stood together under the spotlight, and for just a moment, we looked like what we were supposed to be. The successful couple. The love story everyone aspired to. The proof that marriage could work. I took the microphone, and the room fell silent. "Thank you all so much for being here tonight," I began, my voice steady and clear. 30 years ago, I married Marcus Whitmore. I was 23 years old, freshly graduated from college, absolutely convinced I knew what love meant. I thought love was passion and romance and grand gestures. Marcus smiled beside me, probably relieved I was keeping it sentimental and safe. But over 30 years, I learned that love is really about something else entirely. It's about truth, about loyalty, about keeping your promises even when no one's watching. It's about integrity. I saw Marcus's smile falter slightly. Good. Let him start to sweat. So tonight, I want to do something special. I want to introduce you all to some very important people in Marcus's life, people who've been instrumental in our marriage. I gestured toward the crowd. Tiffany, sweetheart, would you come up here? Tiffany's face went from confused to horrified in seconds. She shook her head slightly, but everyone was looking at her now, wondering why the host was singling out Marcus's assistant. She had no choice. She walked forward on shaking legs, and I watched Marcus's face drain of color. Tiffany is Marcus's executive assistant, I announced to the room. But she's so much more than that. Tiffany, tell everyone. What did Marcus promise you? I don't... She looked at Marcus desperately. It's okay. They'll all know soon enough. Marcus bought Tiffany a condominium, told her he's leaving his cold, distant wife to marry her. Showed her property listings for houses they'd buy together. Isn't that right, Tiffany? The room went dead silent. You could have heard a pin drop on the plush carpet. Sandra, what are you... Marcus started, his voice strangled. Oh, I'm just getting started. Jennifer? Jennifer Cole? Would you join us up here? Jennifer, standing frozen by the appetizers, looked like she wanted to disappear into the floor. But curiosity and confusion propelled her forward. She walked up slowly, her eyes darting between Marcus and me. Jennifer is a pharmaceutical sales rep Marcus met at a conference. Jennifer, Marcus told you he was separated from me, didn't he? That we were just waiting for paperwork? He's been to your apartment 73 times in 18 months. I have the surveillance footage. Jennifer's hand flew to her mouth. Tiffany turned to stare at Jennifer, realization dawning on her face. There's more, I said, my voice cutting through the shocked murmurs spreading through the crowd. Ashley Park, would you come up here, please? Ashley, to her credit, walked forward with her head high, though her professional composure was cracking. She understood before she even reached the podium. She was a divorce attorney after all. She knew exactly what kind of scene this was. Ashley knew Marcus was married, I told the room. But Marcus told her we had an open marriage, that I had my own lovers, that we were just keeping up appearances for business reasons. Is that what he told you, Ashley? Ashley's lips pressed into a thin line. She said nothing, but her silence was confirmation enough. And finally, Diane Mitchell. Would you join us? Diane walked forward like a woman in a nightmare, her face crumpling as she understood. When she reached the front, she was already crying. Diane is a widow, I said softly, almost gently. Her husband died 3 years ago. She was Marcus's girlfriend in college, and when he found her on Facebook, he saw an opportunity. He told you I was emotionally abusive, didn't he, Diane? That he was trapped? That you were his salvation? Diane sobbed openly now. 4 women stood in front of 150 guests. 4 women Marcus had lied to. 4 women who'd believed they were special, chosen, loved. 4 women who were just pawns in one man's game. Marcus tried to speak. Sandra, you're humiliating. Humiliating. I turned on him, and something in my face made him step back. Humiliating is finding out your husband has been betraying you for years. Humiliating is discovering he's used your money from my consulting work, to buy his mistress a condo. Humiliating is learning that while you were caring for his dying mother, he was sleeping with 4 different women and telling each one a different story. I pressed a button, and the projection screen behind us lit up. Photos, time-stamped, dated, locations marked. Marcus kissing Tiffany outside a hotel. Marcus with his arm around Jennifer at a restaurant. Marcus leaving Ashley's apartment at midnight. Marcus holding Diane's hand on a beach. The evidence was irrefutable, undeniable, absolutely damning. The room erupted. Gasps, shocked exclamations, people pulling out their phones to record. This was going to be all over social media by morning. Marcus Whitmore, respected financial advisor, family man, pillar of the community, exposed as a serial cheater who'd been juggling 4 affairs for years. Marcus's business partner David stood up. Marcus, what the hell? But I wasn't done. I pressed another button, and audio played through the speakers. Marcus's voice recorded from his secret email account, read by a voice actor. Sandra doesn't understand me anymore. She's so cold. You're everything I need, baby. Then another recording. We'll be together soon. Just need to time the divorce right financially. You're worth the wait. And another. My wife is impossible to live with. You've saved me from a miserable existence. Lie after lie after lie broadcast to everyone who'd ever believed in him. Tiffany turned on him first. You told me you loved me. You said I was the only one. Jennifer was shaking. I almost introduced you to my daughter. My daughter! Ashley's professional mask had shattered completely. I'm a divorce attorney. How could I be so stupid? Diane just kept crying, her second chance at love revealed as another cruel deception. And through it all, Marcus stood there, his face cycling through denial, anger, panic, and finally, defeat. There was no talking his way out of this, no explaining, no rationalizing, no manipulating the narrative. This time, the truth was bigger than his lies. I filed for divorce this morning, I announced to the room. The papers will be served tomorrow. I have testimony from Jennifer and Ashley. I have financial records showing Marcus used our joint funds for his affairs. I have everything I need to ensure I get the house. 70% of our assets and alimony. Margaret Chen is my attorney. Several of the lawyers in the room whistled. Margaret Chen's reputation preceded her. Marcus finally found his voice. You can't do this. You can't just... I can. I did. And you know what the beautiful thing is, Marcus. You gave me everything I needed. Every receipt, every email, every lie you told these women created another nail in your coffin. You were so confident I'd never find out, so sure I'd never fight back, that you got sloppy, arrogant, stupid. David walked up to the podium, his face hard. Marcus, consider your partnership under review. We'll be meeting tomorrow to discuss your status with the firm. Other clients were standing, shaking their heads, clearly reconsidering their trust in a man who'd lied so elaborately to everyone in his life. If he'd lie to his wife, to his mistresses, what else would he lie about? Their money? Their investments? Marcus's professional reputation was crumbling in real time. He tried one last time. Sandra, please, can we talk about this privately? We can work this out. Work it out? I laughed, and it sounded harsh even to my own ears. Marcus, there is no working this out. There's no marriage counseling that fixes 5 years of serial cheating. There's no apology that makes this okay. You didn't just betray me. You betrayed these women. You betrayed our children. You betrayed every person in this room who thought you were a man of integrity. Mom, I turned. Emma, my daughter, stood at the edge of the crowd. She'd flown in for the party. She was supposed to be a surprise, arriving late. But she'd arrived in time for the main event. Her face was pale, shocked, devastated. Emma, sweetheart. Marcus started toward her. Don't. Emma held up her hand. Don't you dare. How could you do this to Mom? To us? How could you? Her voice broke. Ryan, my son, appeared behind his sister. 26 years old, always closer to his father, always defended him. But now Ryan looked at Marcus like he was looking at a stranger. Dad, Ryan said quietly, what did you do? That's when Marcus broke. Seeing his children's faces, seeing the disgust and disappointment, finally cracked something in him. He started to cry. Actual tears, whether from genuine remorse or just self-pity. I couldn't tell and didn't care. I'm sorry, he choked out. I'm so sorry. I don't know why I never meant to. But sorry doesn't rebuild trust. Sorry doesn't erase years of deception. Sorry doesn't give back the time, the devotion, the sacrifice. Sorry is just a word, and words were all Marcus had ever been good at. Security appeared at my signal. Yes, I'd arranged for security, because I knew this could get ugly, and they escorted Marcus from the ballroom. He went without resistance, his shoulders slumped, his expensive suit suddenly looking like a costume he'd been wearing all along. The 4 women stood together awkwardly, united by their shared humiliation. Tiffany was crying. Jennifer looked numb. Ashley's professional mask was back, but her hands shook. Diane seemed to have aged 10 years in 10 minutes. I approached them. I'm sorry you got caught up in this. I'm sorry he lied to all of you. But I wanted you to know the truth, all of it. You deserved that much. Tiffany looked at me with red-rimmed eyes. Why? Why expose us like this? Why not just tell us privately? Because privately, he'd find a way to lie again, to manipulate, to convince each of you that the others didn't matter, that you were special. This way, there's no ambiguity, no room for him to spin another story. I feel so stupid, Jennifer whispered. Don't. You're not stupid. He's a professional liar. He's been practicing for decades. I gestured to the room. All these people thought they knew him too. He fooled everyone. But here's what I want you to think about. When someone shows you who they really are, do you believe them? Or do you keep believing the version of them you want to see? Ashley straightened her shoulders. Mrs. Whitmore, if you need any legal consultation for your divorce, my firm specializes in cases involving infidelity. No charge. I almost smiled. Thank you. I have representation, but I appreciate that. The 4 women left separately, each processing their own devastation, and I stood in the center of the crystal ballroom, surrounded by the ruins of my anniversary party, feeling something I hadn't felt in years. Free. The guests began filing out, some offering condolences, some too shocked to speak, some clearly dying to gossip about what they'd witnessed. Carol stayed, of course, and my brother Tom. Emma and Ryan came to my side, and I held my children while they processed their father's betrayal. Why didn't you tell us? Emma asked. Because I needed to do this my way. I needed to be in control of how it happened. Are you okay? Ryan's voice was rough. I will be, eventually. And standing there, my family around me, my truth finally exposed to the light, I realized something profound. I'd spent 30 years being the perfect wife, the supportive partner, the woman who put everyone else first. Tonight, I'd put myself first. I'd chosen my dignity over keeping peace. I'd chosen truth over comfortable lies. It felt terrifying and exhilarating in equal measure. The ballroom slowly emptied. The string quartet packed up their instruments. The catering staff cleared abandoned champagne glasses. Patricia, the event coordinator, approached me nervously. Mrs. Whitmore, I just want to say that was the bravest thing I've ever witnessed. Or the craziest. No, the bravest. He deserved everything he got. After everyone left, I stood alone in the empty ballroom. 30 years of marriage ended where they'd begun, in a beautiful room, surrounded by flowers, with promises that turned out to be lies. But this time, I was writing the ending myself. My phone buzzed, a text from Margaret, my lawyer. I watched the video someone posted online. You just made my job incredibly easy. He'll settle fast to avoid this going further. Well done. I allowed myself a small smile. It was done. The bomb had detonated. The fallout would be extensive, painful, messy. But it was done. Marcus Whitmore's carefully constructed world of lies had collapsed completely, and Sandra Whitmore, the woman who'd been invisible for so long, had finally made herself impossible to ignore. Do you think I was wrong to expose him publicly? Should I have handled it privately, quietly, the way society expects women to handle their humiliation? Or did Marcus earn every second of what happened to him tonight? The morning after I blew up my marriage in front of 150 witnesses, I woke up alone in my bed for the first time in 30 years, and you know what? I slept better than I had in months. The sun streamed through the bedroom windows, my bedroom now, not ours, and I lay there for a moment, processing what I'd done. The videos were already circulating online. My phone had 47 missed calls. The local news had somehow gotten wind of it. Marcus Whitmore's spectacular public downfall was trending on social media in our city. People I hadn't spoken to in years were messaging me, some offering support, others clearly just fishing for details they could gossip about. I didn't care about any of it. I got up, made myself coffee, just 1 cup, not 2, and sat at the kitchen table where Marcus and I had shared thousands of meals. Except we hadn't really shared them, had we? He'd been physically present but mentally with Tiffany, or Jennifer, or Ashley, or Diane, planning his next lie, crafting his next excuse, living his double, triple, quadruple life while I sat across from him like a fool. But I wasn't a fool anymore. My phone rang. Margaret Chen, my attorney, calling at 8 in the morning. "Sandra, I hope you're sitting down," Margaret said, and I could hear the satisfaction in her voice. "Marcus's lawyer called me 20 minutes ago. He wants to settle. Fast. He's willing to give you everything you asked for. The house, 70% of assets, alimony. He doesn't want this going to court where more details might come out." I closed my eyes. He's scared. He should be. After last night, he's toxic. His firm is reviewing his partnership. 3 major clients have already pulled their accounts. He knows if this drags out, he'll have nothing left to split. So he loses either way. Yes. But this way, he loses faster and with slightly less public humiliation. Though honestly, after what I saw in those videos, I don't know how much more humiliated he could get. I thought about Marcus. Proud, confident Marcus, who'd always controlled everything, now desperate to make this go away as quickly as possible. Part of me wanted to drag it out, make him suffer through a lengthy court battle where every sordid detail would be examined under oath, but a bigger part of me just wanted him out of my life completely. "Take the settlement," I said. "I don't want to spend another year tied to him through legal proceedings. I want this over." "Smart choice. I'll have the papers drawn up by end of week. Sandra?" Margaret paused. "You did good. A lot of women in your position would have just quietly divorced and let him control the narrative. You made sure everyone knows exactly who he is." After we hung up, I sat with my coffee and let that sink in. Everyone knows exactly who he is. No more hiding behind his charming smile and expensive suits. No more fooling clients into thinking he was trustworthy. No more manipulating women into believing his lies. Marcus Whitmore's mask had been ripped off, and there was no putting it back on. The doorbell rang. Through the window, I saw Carol's car in the driveway. Of course, Carol would be here. She'd probably been up all night worrying about me. I opened the door, and she swept me into a hug without saying a word. When she finally pulled back, her eyes were red. "I can't believe you went through all that alone," Carol said. "Why didn't you tell me? I could have helped you, supported you." "Because I needed to do it myself. I needed to prove to myself that I could." We sat in the living room, the room where Marcus and I had hosted countless dinner parties, where we'd celebrated holidays, where we'd pretended to be happy, and I told Carol everything: the receipt, the private investigator, the emails, the 4 women, the planning, all of it. Carol listened, shaking her head in disbelief. 5 years, Sandra. He was doing this for 5 years minimum. How did we not see it? Because we saw what we wanted to see: a successful marriage, a good man. We saw the version of him he wanted us to see. But 4 women? 4? How did he even have the time? I laughed bitterly. That's what I kept wondering. All those late nights at the office, weekend golf trips, business conferences, they were all lies. Every single one. He built an entire alternate life, and I was so busy being the supportive wife that I never questioned any of it. Carol reached over and squeezed my hand. "You're the strongest woman I know. Last night, what you did, that took courage I don't think I'd have. Or insanity. I'm still not sure which." "Courage," Carol said firmly. "Definitely courage. But here's what I was really wondering. Was it courage, or was it rage? Was it strength, or was it just 30 years of suppressed anger finally exploding? Because standing at that podium, exposing Marcus to everyone we knew, part of me had enjoyed it. Part of me had felt powerful watching his world crumble, and that scared me a little. What did it say about me that I'd taken pleasure in his humiliation? Over the next few days, I had to face that question more than once. Emma and Ryan came over that afternoon. My children, trying to process the fact that their father, the man who taught them to ride bikes and helped with homework and attended every school event, was a serial cheater who'd betrayed not just me, but the entire foundation of our family. Emma was angry, furious actually. "I can't believe I defended him when you guys were fighting about stupid stuff over the years. I thought you were being difficult. I thought you were the one with the problem. Em, you couldn't have known, but I should have paid attention. The way he talked about you sometimes, like you were this burden he had to deal with. I just thought that's how long-married couples were. Annoyed with each other, but committed. I didn't realize he was literally living separate lives. Ryan was quieter, more withdrawn. He'd always been closer to Marcus, shared his interest in finance and investing. I don't know how to reconcile the dad I knew with the person who could do this, Ryan said finally. Like, are all my memories lies? Were the good times even real? That question hit me hard because I'd been asking myself the same thing. Were our early years genuine? Did Marcus ever really love me? Or was I always just a convenient wife-shaped person filling a role he needed filled? The good times were real, I said, because I had to believe that for my own sanity. People are complicated. Your father isn't a cartoon villain. He's a man who made terrible choices, who prioritized his own desires over everyone else's well-being, who lied and manipulated and betrayed. But that doesn't erase every good memory. It just means those memories are more complicated now. Emma looked at me with tears streaming down her face. Are you going to be okay, Mom? And that's when I realized I didn't know. I had no idea if I was going to be okay. I'd spent 3 decades building my identity around being Marcus's wife. Who was Sandra Whitmore without him? Who was I when I wasn't supporting his career, managing his household, playing my role in his carefully constructed life? I'm going to figure it out, I said. Maybe for the first time in 30 years, I'm going to figure out who I actually am. The divorce papers were signed within 2 weeks. Marcus didn't contest anything. He gave me the house, the settlement, everything Margaret had demanded. He just wanted it over. Wanted to move on, wanted to escape the wreckage of his reputation and start somewhere fresh, where people didn't know what he'd done. But here's the thing about small cities. Everyone knows everyone, and the internet is forever. Those videos from the anniversary party, they weren't going away. Marcus Whitmore's name was permanently attached to one of the most spectacular public relationship implosions our community had ever witnessed. He moved to a different city 3 hours away, took a job at a smaller firm with a significant pay cut. From what I heard through mutual acquaintances, he was living in a modest apartment, driving a used car, his glory days firmly behind him. And you know what I felt when I heard that? Not satisfaction, not vindication, just emptiness, because destroying Marcus's life didn't magically fix mine. I still had to figure out what came next. The first few months were the hardest. I'd wake up and forget, just for a second, that everything had changed. I'd start to make 2 cups of coffee or set 2 places at the table. I'd hear a noise and think Marcus was home, then remember he'd never be home again. The house felt enormous and empty, every room echoing with the ghost of a marriage that had been dead long before I'd pulled the plug. My therapist, yes, I finally got a therapist, something I should have done years ago, helped me understand that I was grieving, not for Marcus, but for the life I'd thought I had, for the security of believing I was in a partnership, for the identity I'd built around being a wife. You spent 30 years being half of a couple, Dr. Reeves said during one session. Now you're relearning how to be a whole person on your own. That's not easy work. It wasn't. Some days I felt strong and liberated. Other days I felt terrified and alone. I had to make every decision myself now. No one to consult about whether to repaint the kitchen or which insurance plan to choose or what to have for dinner. It was simultaneously freeing and overwhelming. But slowly, gradually, I started to find myself again. I redecorated the bedroom first. New paint, new bedding, new furniture, erasing every trace of Marcus from the space where I slept. Then I tackled his home office, converting it into something for me, a craft room where I could pursue the photography hobby I'd abandoned when the kids were born. I reached out to old friends from my marketing career, the one I'd scaled back to support Marcus's ambitions. Turns out, my skills weren't as outdated as I'd feared. Within 3 months, I had consulting work. Within 6 months, I had more clients than I could handle. People wanted to work with me, valued my expertise, paid me well for my time. I was building something that was mine, not ours, mine. And then something unexpected happened. Jennifer Cole, the pharmaceutical sales rep, reached out to me. We met for coffee at a neutral location, both of us nervous, neither quite sure what to say. Jennifer looked different from the woman I'd seen at the anniversary party, less polished, more vulnerable, but also somehow stronger. "I don't even know why I'm here," Jennifer said, stirring her latte. I needed to talk to someone who understood. My friends think I'm crazy for even wanting to contact you." "Mine too," I admitted. "I've been in therapy," Jennifer continued, "trying to understand how I let myself be manipulated like that. And my therapist asked me who else might understand what I was going through. And I thought of you, and Ashley, and Diane, and even Tiffany. We're all victims of the same man's lies." We talked for 3 hours that day, about the warning signs we'd missed, about the lies he'd told, about how he'd made each of us feel special, chosen, like we were the only one who really understood him. Jennifer shared how she'd almost introduced Marcus to her daughter, how close she'd come to letting him into the most important part of her life. "I'm glad you exposed him when you did," Jennifer said quietly. "Another few months, and my daughter would have gotten attached. That would have destroyed her." "I didn't do it for noble reasons," I confessed. "I did it because I wanted him to hurt the way he hurt me." "Did it work? Do you feel better?" I thought about that. Sometimes. But mostly I just feel tired. Revenge didn't heal me. It just cleared the path so I could start healing myself. Jennifer and I became unlikely friends after that. We met for coffee every few weeks, comparing notes on our therapy sessions, supporting each other through the process of rebuilding our lives after Marcus. Diane eventually joined us. She needed the support, needed to talk through her grief that had been manipulated and exploited. We were 3 women bound together by the dubious distinction of having been deceived by the same man. Ashley never joined us. She'd moved on completely, threw herself into her legal career, probably preferred to forget the whole thing had ever happened. And Tiffany? She'd moved back to her hometown, deleted all her social media, essentially disappeared from public life. I hoped she was okay, but I understood why she didn't want contact with any of us. A year after the anniversary party, I was invited to speak at a women's networking event. They wanted me to talk about entrepreneurship, about my consulting business. But when I got up there and looked at the faces in the audience, women of all ages, some probably in relationships, some probably being betrayed right now and not knowing it, I changed my speech. "I spent 30 years ignoring red flags," I said. 30 years making myself smaller so my husband could be bigger. 30 years believing that good wives don't question, don't complain, don't make waves. And it almost destroyed me. Not the betrayal itself, but the fact that I'd lost myself so completely I didn't even know who I was anymore without him. The room was silent, everyone listening. "So, here's what I want you to know. Your instincts are valid. If something feels wrong, it probably is. Trust yourself. Value yourself. Build a life that's yours, not just an appendage to someone else's. Because if I'd done that, if I'd maintained my career, my identity, my sense of self, the betrayal would have hurt less. Not because the betrayal would have been any less severe, but because I would have had something to fall back on. I would have known I could survive without him." After the speech, women lined up to talk to me, to share their own stories, to ask advice. And I realized something powerful. My pain had purpose. My experience could help others. The worst thing that had ever happened to me could become the foundation for something meaningful. I started a blog, nothing fancy, just honest posts about rebuilding after betrayal, about finding yourself after divorce, about the complicated reality of moving forward. It gained followers quickly. Apparently, there were a lot of women out there who needed to hear they weren't alone. Marcus tried to contact me a few times during that first year, emails I didn't read, phone calls I didn't answer. Finally, one letter I did open because it was marked important. In it, he apologized. Sort of. It was one of those apologies that's really just an excuse wrapped in sorry-shaped words. He was stressed. He was going through a midlife crisis. He never meant to hurt anyone. The classic non-apology apology that takes no real responsibility. I wrote back once, just once. "Marcus, I don't forgive you. Maybe someday I will, but not for you, for me. Because carrying anger is exhausting and I'm tired. But forgiveness doesn't mean reconciliation. It doesn't mean I think what you did was okay or understandable. It just means I'm choosing to move forward without letting you occupy space in my head anymore. You don't get to live rent-free in my thoughts. You lost that privilege when you betrayed me for 5 years. I hope you get therapy. I hope you figure out why you did what you did. I hope you become a better person. But I don't need to witness that transformation. Your growth is no longer my concern. I'm too busy with my own. I never heard from him again after that. 2 years after the anniversary party, I did something I never thought I'd do. I went on a date. Just coffee with a man I'd met through my business networking group. It was awkward and strange, and I spent half the time comparing him to Marcus, which wasn't fair to either of us. But it was also proof that I could, that I wasn't broken forever, that there might be a version of my future that included companionship, maybe even love, on my terms this time. I'm not there yet. I'm still learning who Sandra Whitmore is when she's not performing the role of devoted wife. I'm still discovering what I like, what I want, what I'm willing to compromise on, and what I'll never compromise on again. But here's what I know for certain now. I am enough on my own. I don't need someone to complete me. I was always complete. I just forgot that somewhere along the way. The house is mine now, legally and emotionally. I've made it my own. New colors, new furniture, new energy. Emma and Ryan visit regularly. We've rebuilt our relationship on more honest ground, not pretending everything's perfect, but actually communicating about the messy, complicated reality of life. My business is thriving. My blog has become a community. I have real friendships based on authenticity rather than maintaining appearances. I wake up every morning in my bed, in my house, living my life, and I'm not waiting for anyone's permission to be happy. Is it the life I imagined when I was 23 and marrying Marcus? No, but it's better because it's real. It's mine, and nobody can take it from me. Marcus is somewhere living his diminished life, and that's not my problem anymore. The 4 women he deceived have all moved on in their own ways. The guests at that anniversary party probably still talk about it occasionally, but it's becoming a story now rather than a fresh wound. And me? I'm writing my own story for the first time in 3 decades. Sometimes I think about what would have happened if I'd handled it differently, if I'd confronted Marcus privately, if I'd divorced him quietly, if I'd protected his reputation and maintained the facade. Would I feel better? Would I regret the public spectacle? But then I remember his face when he walked in with Tiffany on his arm. The sheer audacity, the absolute confidence that I'd just accepted, just smile and play my role as the accommodating wife one more time. And I know I made the right choice, not because public revenge is always the answer. It's not. But because I needed to prove to myself that I could stand up, speak out, and refuse to be humiliated in silence. I needed to hear my own voice again. So was it worth it? The pain, the gossip, the social fallout, the uncomfortable conversations, the months of therapy, the hard work of rebuilding? Yes. 1,000 times yes. Because I got myself back, and that's worth more than 30 years of comfortable lies. Now I want to hear from you. Have you ever ignored red flags in a relationship because confronting the truth felt too scary? Have you made yourself smaller to make someone else comfortable? Have you lost pieces of yourself trying to be the perfect partner, the perfect spouse, the person someone else needed you to be? Drop your story in the comments. I read every single one, and I respond, because we're building a community here. People who've been through betrayal, people who are currently going through it, people who are trying to figure out how to rebuild, and most importantly, if you're in a situation where something feels wrong, where you're ignoring red flags, where you're making yourself smaller, trust that feeling. You deserve better. You deserve truth. You deserve a relationship built on honesty, not lies. Your instincts are valid. Your pain is real. Your strength is greater than you know. And you are enough. You were always enough. Thank you.